Dr. Wilfred Ngwa, who has just come out of a session talking about the blood plants. Dr. Wilfred Ngwa, can you tell us about the blood plant project?
Yeah, so the blood plant project is really it's an amazing discovery that they talked today at Brigham and Women's Hospital. It's an amazing discovery from a research collaboration between the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, researchers in Cameroon, and then researchers here at Harvard Medical School, including some of my lab members. And this is about a plant that was discovered. The species is not yet identified, so we still have to name this plant, but we know that it's from the genus of Justicia. The plant has more hemoglobin than what we have in humans. That's remarkable. And it's quite, the idea that plants have hemoglobin is not new. Actually studies have shown that all plants have hemoglobin genes, but they don't express those genes, which means that they don't produce hemoglobin because they probably don't need it. So a number of questions came out of this discovery is really, why does this particular plant produce hemoglobin? And we do have a hypothesis about that, that it's because of the environmental conditions that the plant is growing up in. But the quite exciting part of it is just the applications, the potential applications for this. So we're thinking about looking at there are 3 key applications, and somebody just met me afterwards after the talk, and she told me about a 4th application, which I didn't think about, so I have to follow up with her. So one application is just looking at anemia. That's very simple. In fact, the populations in Africa we worked with actually have identified that as one of the treatments. They just knew that it helped them. They didn't know what was in it that was helping them. Now we've been able to open up, shed the light, and we know what makes them get better or feel better from that now. And this is the heme ion that they're getting. So heme ion is a kind of iron, like the iron supplements that you get from Walmart or from CVS, but it's readily absorbed. It's kind of heme ion is actually what you find in meats, but you never find that in plants. So plants do have non-heme ion. But heme ion comes from hemoglobin, so heme ion, and that's readily absorbed. And so, so this plant has a lot of that, and that's the justification for why it helps. At least that's our hypothesis, is that's why it helps people get better quickly, because it's readily absorbed and can be used to produce more blood very quickly. And so, so definitely one of the key applications there is for anemia treatment. And that's big because 1 out of every 4 people is anemic in the world. Pregnant women, about 47% of them, 42%. And then for kids, about 47%, less than 5 years old. And we do know that people who get this supply of iron, it makes them, not only healing their anemia helps them with their physical performance, the cognitive performance, and in fact, 12.8% of deaths that result during pregnancy are attributed to anemia. And that's a big percentage in developing countries like in Africa and in South Asia. So that's a big application. And then the second application there is more, so that's just one blood disorder that we can look at in treating. But we're looking at other blood disorders. But a very big blood disorder is really just trauma medicine, where people, have to donate blood for transfusion. So it's very important that we want to develop a blood substitute from this. It's going to take more years of research than the other products, so I think that will take about 2 to 5 years. But that would be wonderful. That would be a big deal because people who have accidents, wounded soldiers in the military who need blood transfusion, they can get a universal blood substitute. So universal means you don't have to care about the blood group. They have to think about, some religions, people don't want transfused blood, and so you're giving them an option here. And then today somebody just told me that, she has a big project with NASA, and they have a lot of money, but that would be a very good product for them. That's why she was asking me during the talk, how long can the product last outside of the refrigerator? And obviously we've done some studies showing that over 4 months there was no difference. we want to investigate it some more. But she came after saying that we should talk because there's a huge opportunity there where they can actually really pump in money to develop a product for the space agency. That's quite interesting. But the last one, which is, the food one is pretty good, is the idea that, what actually makes burgers or anything or meat taste the way it tastes is because meat has heme iron. And so, people have developed that into burgers now and foods that, can taste the same like when you have the meat in them. So you can basically isolate the heme iron from the plants, which typically plants have about 1,000 times less heme iron than humans. So now we actually have a plant that has multiple times more hemoglobin than humans. So basically you can get the heme iron from there and you can develop burgers that
it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So it's a very exciting application. We only have to think about burgers. We can think about food fortification, whether it's cereal or rice or things like that can really be used for pregnant women and kids to save the lives or to address the anemia problem, which is a big deal in developing countries again because those countries are endemic for malaria and other infectious diseases, which means that iron supplements are not very compatible with that. They're not very appropriate. So now you can go back and really, empower these populations in Africa where this was discovered, but we actually have some partners there now that want to scale that across Africa, and obviously we can export that to other countries. Now, there's a global warming component to that, which is quite interesting because studies show that up to 51% of global greenhouse emissions come from cultivation of animals, which means that people are looking at Bill Gates invested $300 million into Impossible Foods because they're looking at now by the year 2050, the planet may not be able to provide enough meat to all the populations, but even if they're dead, the environmental footprint will be very high, so the carbon emission and all of that stuff. And so, they want to invest now into this kind of alternatives because if you grow plants, plants actually produce oxygen. They take out carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, convert that in their photosynthesis into oxygen. And so, you can actually, by growing more plants, like this plant that we talked about, you can actually take out the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, convert that into oxygen. But at the same time, you don't have to depend on meat to stay healthy. You can just get foods from those plants. And so that's why vegans and vegetarians still love these kind of foods and they are getting anemic. If you actually go and study vegans and vegetarians, you see that they are getting anemic because they're not eating meat, which has a heme iron. So they have to get iron supplements from somewhere else. So by providing an alternative for them, that's a big deal. That's why people are investing in this. So it's a multi-billion-dollar market now in the United States. Yeah. But just think about it. That's just the United States. You've now grown that outside as more people become aware. So there's a huge potential in this, and so we're very excited. And obviously, like I said during my talk, the plant itself actually reminds me of the Black Panther, the Wakanda, the movie there, for two things. One, because, the healthcare. Wakanda is actually supposed to be a futuristic city in Africa. And this plant was discovered in Africa, right? So, and this plant, the Black Panther actually gets his supernatural abilities, the super strength and all of that from, the plant, the heart-shaped plant. The plant is actually heart-shaped, which means it can pump, essentially drive the blood through its veins. And now we have a plant here that can also, improve the physical ability, at the same time as cognitive function, so make you even smarter. And so, very, very interesting similarities. So, it's like the movie becomes true in some ways.
Yep. Life imitates art or art imitates life. I don't know which is it.
Yeah. Actually, we usually say that science fiction is like the future inventions, but I'm sure that they never really thought, when the movie producers never really thought that there will be a plant in Africa that gives you supernatural strength or helps you have increased physical ability.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what the movie industry will think of this discovery of the blood plant.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll have a paper coming out on that. I'll share that with you. But it's really moving quickly. So we actually have a product launch for this in the first quarter of 2020, and then we're going to continue to develop, the blood substitute one, which is quite exciting.
We certainly look forward to just watching the progress and documenting all the progress and seeing the amazing things that will come out of this whole process.
Yeah, and like I mentioned to you, the NFL players are coming in December 12th, and they have, so one of the famous players is looking at developing a product from this that, some people were asking me about that, today after the presentation, whether the athletes have been taking this, that kind of thing. And so there's there's already interest in that, because of the fact that it readily absorbs and can, it's not like you're taking a drug that's banned substance or anything like that. It's just the fact that, it can rapidly convert into red blood cells that carry oxygen. That's something that can really increase physical performance for pregnant women, but now we can also develop that for athletes. So that's interesting. So some athletes are actually very interested in investing in that development.
Well, I look forward to being a part of that conversation. I will be there.
Yes.
So anyway, thank you so much for this update. I believe the viewers will appreciate that, and people will be looking forward to learning more about the process, the whole evolvement of the blood plant from a plant to products.
Yeah.
So thank you for the amazing work you're doing at Brigham and Women's and Dana-Farber.
Yeah, thank you.
And thanks for the contribution to the world.
You're welcome. Yes.